What's up, guys? This is Donnie Lee Jr. here with another episode of the Process Podcast, and today we're going to be talking about a very special topic, fatherhood. I want to pop it off with a funny story, man. During my playing days at the University of Alabama, we had our 6:30 workouts, right, that were led by Coach Scott Cochran that's at the University of Georgia now. During one of those workouts, Coach Cochran did his proverbial yeah speeches. He's screaming, he's yelling, trying to wake everybody up. He recognized I was yawning, I was a little tired, that I was still asleep. So he walks up to me and he starts screaming and yelling. He's telling me, Donnie Lee, you got to lock in. It's time to work. Let's get it. And he's giving me this rah-rah speech, essentially. And for anyone that knows me, they know that I think motivation is a myth. It's fake, right? It's not real. And so I immediately told Coach Cochran, I don't need a rah-rah speech. I've got a 3-year-old daughter. And in that moment, I recognized everything that was important to me, that the reason that I was out here was to take care of her. They always asked us, what's your why? Why do you get up? Why do you go through fall camp? Why do you come to practice? Why do you study extra film? Why do you do extra reps in the weight room? And my why was my daughter. Ironically, before having my daughter, I didn't know what my why was. I always knew I wanted to make it to the next levels, but I didn't know why, outside of just solely wanting to do it for the sake of doing it. Obviously, there's monetary incentives and wanting to get to that point so you can help certain people in your life out. But more than anything, man, my why was my daughter, and I'd never been more encouraged than when I had her, when I first looked into her eyes. And so during my time at the University of Alabama, I did recognize that Coach Saban served as that father figure for a myriad of young men that came from broken homes, and he served as our dad in many ways. He showed us what it meant to be a man. He showed us what it meant to be disciplined. He showed us what it meant that if you're early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late. He taught us the importance of tucking your shirt in and why and how you present yourself. A lot of people think that Coach Saban is teaching football, but really and truly, Coach Saban is teaching fatherhood. He's teaching how to be a man. He's teaching how to lead a community. And that's what I really wanted to talk about today. I had a great conversation with one of the guys that I trained with, former University of West Alabama running back, now owns his own company, Jared Jennings. And we were talking about just fatherhood, right? And the blueprints that we were given before us. And for many of us, there was no blueprint, right? Our moms set that blueprint. But figuring out, how do I take this to the next level? Whether you're trying to break generational curses through football, or you're trying to break generational curses by simply being there, right? I think everything is about improvement. I know as a kid, I struggled with my relationship with my father because I always felt like he hadn't done enough. In retrospect, as I became a man, I recognized that he was doing everything that he could do to the best of his ability based off the things that he had been taught by his father. As I've gotten older, I've been able to understand more of my dad's perspective and how he's seen his dad. And you start to see these reoccurring dynamics and these reoccurring narratives. And this is something that, if I'm seeing it at 28, I know Coach Saban has seen this a million times when he's walking into people's living rooms and he's seeing, again, these reoccurring issues, specifically in the Black community. And so I wanted to talk about that today, to really dive into the importance of fatherhood and stepping up and taking that role. There's a lot of conversations about, what can we do to improve the state of the community? What can we do to lower poverty rates? Can we do to mitigate crime all over the country? And I think it starts with fathers. It starts with dads in the home. We're in a time period now where, there's more children growing up in fatherless homes than ever before. But I also think that it's important to note that, in this day and age where fathers do find themselves in situations where they may not be with the mother of that child, which was a situation for a myriad of my teammates in college where, they had children and they were showing up to practice every single day to take care of their kids. I was really, really blessed to attend a college in the same city as my daughter. But a lot of my teammates, I know they really struggled with that, right? How do I balance being away from my child? But it's not that I'm abandoning my child. I'm here because I want to provide for my child, and the best opportunity for me to provide for my child isn't in my hometown. I was presented with an opportunity by an agency about a year ago where it was a job offer about above $100,000, but I'd have to move to either LA, Atlanta, or New York. And obviously, it was a great business opportunity. And it was a job that I considered a dream job for a very long time. But I knew that my daughter wouldn't relocate, and so that was a non-negotiable for me. And so As men, I think it's important that we start recognizing what are our non-negotiables when it comes to leading our families. My younger brother, Donnie Lee, just had a son 4 months ago, Lee, and immediately, man, I talked to him about the importance of leading your tribe. I love watching young boys grow up and become men and becoming fathers, seeing guys like Trayvon Diggs, who was young in college, and now he's literally the face of fatherhood in the NFL, right? And I know that when you find yourself in situations like Diggs is currently in, where, man, I've got a torn ACL, and all of a sudden what I'm used to on a daily basis is no longer there. Like, I can't move the same way I used to move. I can't go from point A to point B as efficiently as I used to. Like, I can't participate in the game on Sunday, right? I've just got to sit back and watch. I know when I tore my ACL, that was one of the toughest things in the world, was, just your day-to-day activities being stripped away from you. But I remember vividly, even at her young age, my daughter would crawl into the bed with me and she would rub my knee, and she knew exactly which ACL was torn. Like, it was crazy to me. She was just truly affectionate. She was there for me. And I refer to her as my anchor. I actually got an anchor tattooed on my wrist because my daughter is who kept me stable during my storms. And so, as much as we as fathers think that we're raising our children, in many ways, our children are raising us, right? I'm sure Coach Saban has learned a myriad of lessons from Christian Saban, right? About how do I balance this? How do I balance that, right? A lot of times we can be excellent in our craft and we can be masters of our craft, but that leads to us being less efficient and less impactful in the home. And so I'm forever indebted for the lessons that Coach Saban taught us in terms of, guys, this is how you balance, being a high performer, mastering whatever space that you're in, but also being with your family as much as possible. And I recognize that that's a very difficult balance for a lot of people, right? How do I pursue this goal wholeheartedly, or do I focus on time spent at the home, right? I know a lot of my homeboys tell me all the time, they're like, man, you can either have, I can either be the guy that's staying at home with my partner and my kids all day, or I can be the guy that's going out and hunting, right? Like, at the end of the day, this is still a contemporary hunter and gatherer society. And so anytime that you're out hunting, you can't be at home with the tribe. And so that's something that I think is very important for young men all over the place is, for one, always be mindful of who you're with, of who you're communicating with, but recognizing that the moment that God blesses you with the ultimate power, right? What makes God is his ability to create life. And so once he gives us that gift, he gives us that privilege, and we create life in and of ourselves, that's when I think it's time for us to step up. That's when I think it's time for us to say, okay, this is no longer about me. Just like anything I do in life, whenever I'm coming into a new space, I want to find people that have succeeded in that space. I want to find people that have kind of set a blueprint that I want to follow in that space. And I remember about a year before I had Dylan, I remember seeing Blake Sims win the SEC championship. He runs to the sideline and he grabs his daughter, Kylie. And man, to me, like that just meant everything to me. I remember seeing Laquan Treadwell walk across the stage with his daughter, holding hands, right? And so for me, that was a blueprint. I said, we're gonna win an SEC championship, and I'm gonna go run and pick up Dylan. I'm gonna walk across the stage with my daughter. I'm gonna share that moment with her so she knows that, hey, every moment that Daddy was at practice, this was for you, right? But the unfortunate reality is that a lot of times we can pursue a goal, and though our intentions are pure, and though our why is pure, we still don't reach that goal. And that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with, whether it's an athlete or a civilian, whomever it may be. We all have goals and aspirations for how we want to live. And I pray that we all have goals and aspirations for the lives we want to provide for our children. I want my daughter to feel as if she was born on third base. But balancing that with also teaching her the importance of work ethic, of discipline, of resilience, right? I had the opportunity to chop it up with NFL super agent David Mulugeta in Newport Beach, California, about a year ago. David is top 5 agents on the Forbes list, extremely successful, negotiated Deshaun Watson's super contract last year, has a myriad of the top guys in the NFL on his client roster. And as everybody knows, when you're in that agency space, you're constantly moving around. You're in this location, you're in that location. Ryan Williams, who's another agent with Athletes First, is explaining to me a lot about how he balances his life on the road and serving his clients, but also never forgetting to keep the main thing, and that's his family at home. We're all going out and working to provide a better lives for our kids, but I think it's important to recognize that you've got to find balance. You've got to find balance at all times, right? If you're constantly outside and on the road and you're generating revenue to provide for your kids financially, but you're never there to provide for them emotionally or spiritually, they might not be broke, but they'll still be broken. And so that's something that, I encourage us all as young men, specifically the guys that are already fathers or the guys that are contemplating fatherhood, acknowledge that the moment you become a father, it's no longer about you. It's no longer about what you want. It's no longer about how you feel. Your emotions and really and truly are irrelevant at that point. Everything's about how can I lead, right? How can I be the head of this household? And how can I set a precedent based off of the mentors that I've had, the good men in my life? In my relationship with my father, I really feel as if I have two dads. So I've got my god dad and my biological dad, so my Donnie Lee Sr. and Josh Hayes. And I don't look at them as, I kind of borrowed that from Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but how I look at my fathers is I've got a healed dad and I've got a hurt dad. And I'm very thankful at this stage that my hurt dad, Donnie Lee Sr., has done a lot of work. He's grown significantly over the years. He's gotten in his word, he's gotten in the church, and he's going through that process of healing that his father before him never did. And my father recognized that, if he didn't do that, then the generational curses would continue. And that's what it's all about, right? We get caught up a lot of times in wins and losses, but I think the ultimate victory is the victory against generational curses, no matter what it may be. So close with that. I encourage everybody, like I said, everything starts with the fathers. Everything starts with the chiefs, right? You can't be the head of the household and not accept that responsibility. And understanding that even if you're not in the household with your child, you still have responsibilities. You still have to, as Juicy says, stand on business, right? That's what it comes down to. So I'm calling all young men, specifically all young fathers, let's step it up. It starts with us. Let's start being leaders again. Let's be servant leaders. Let's start being the hands and feet of Jesus. Let's really start doing this work. Like we say all the time on the process, it's bigger than ball. Right. And so if you're a coach, if you're a player, if a former player, whatever it may be, I heavily encourage it, man. Each one teach one. Find a young kid, find a young father and bring them up. If you see a young child that is fatherless, step into that role and teach as much as you can, but also be receptive to learn as much as you can throughout that process as well. We appreciate you guys tapping in with us for another episode of the Process Podcasting. Special shout out to our sponsors at Field Pass and Whitwill. Make sure you go cop a title towel ASAP. I'm going to drop the link below. Appreciate y'all. Trust the process.